Hooray! Hooray, hooray, hooray! We have made it at last. We've reached 1,000 videos! Yay! Well, that's made a right mess. We've reached 1,000 videos. There we go. We've got champagne. Welcome everybody. Welcome all, one and all. That's made a right mess. I'm glad I blew it in that direction, not on my models. Oops. My precious, precious. Today we're going to be reviewing my YouTube channel, which has just reached 1,000. This is the 1,000th video. Quite a milestone, 11 years it's been going. And as I mentioned before, I have got 2 other YouTube channels, which we're not going to talk about today, but we're going to talk just about this channel, because this is the one with 1,000. I'm going to start with some champagne. I'm going to invite you all to have a drink yourselves, pour yourselves a drink. I'm not going to blow off any more of those poppers, because they'll make a right mess. Well, it's going to take weeks to clear up. Could have been worse though, because we were going to have fireworks and sparks. I got a bit nervous with all my things here. Nervous enough because we have got the finest Tattinger, which is my favourite way of celebrating, as you all know, I think. And of course we've had, not only have we got all the members who've recently joined the channel to support me, but all the other subscribers and viewers from down the years. I hope you're going to check this out, because today's going to be a little bit different. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get this open as quick as possible before it gets warm. But what we're going to do today, we're going to concentrate on the videos, just a taster, a few little tasters and reminders of some of the videos of years gone by, which I think some will amuse you. You'll have seen many of them. Some of them you won't have seen. There's a couple in there you won't have seen. 1 or 2 quite funny ones, which I'm going to intersperse with my sort of presentation today, if you like. I'm going to remember, and I'll show you a quick video in a second once I've got this poured, as my wife comes in to take this away. We're going to show you a quick video of how it all went horribly wrong. When I listened to the advice of someone who said, don't twist the cork, twist the bottle. Well, that went well, didn't it? We had an incident there, which I'll mention again in a moment. But first, let's see if we can do this properly without incident. And I'm ready with my emergency tissues over here, just in case. We're ready. Are you right? Oh, she did it on its own. I didn't do that. I hadn't even got to grip it. I literally touched it and it came out. Oh my lord. Oh, that was nearly another one of those volcanic moments, wasn't it? That was weird. I've not actually had that before. This is a fairly normal looking cork. It's because it's been in the fridge cold and it's come out into the slightly warmer atmosphere. So, no actual accidents. Cheers to all of you. Thank you very much for making my channel the success it has been, and the fact that I've got to 1,000 videos shows that I've got a fair amount of enthusiasm for it. So here's to you. Cheers to one and all. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the show. Oh yes, it never fails. Something about that product that's just right. Now, you'll all recall that when I need assistance, I just tap the button that says more champagne please. I don't need more champagne. What I need in this case is I need the champagne to be whisked away. And put in the fridge. It's very important because we don't want to get warm, do we? My very attractive assistant will come. That was a strange one. I'm just going to tell her as she arrives, because you all saw that. It looked like I'd popped it. I didn't. I only just touched it and it just came out. I hadn't even literally put any force on it. I'd barely gripped it even. A strange one. So yeah, that was obviously plenty of pressure in there. Anyway, hopefully we shall get some assistance and that will be whisked away without problems. Here she is. Had an amusing one this time. Took it, undid it. Went to put my hand on it talking to the viewers and it literally popped out without me actually pulling it. I touched it and it just went pop. Didn't fly out. Got it? There we go. Unfortunately my beautiful assistant refuses to appear on camera. Anyway, we're here today to celebrate, and by the way, you'll have noticed for the very first time I have a brand new shirt which features Spitfires and Hurricanes. Did I ever tell you that I once flew in a Spitfire? I actually flew a Spitfire. But we'll get to that later. Right, so today, First of all, we're going to get cracking, and that went fairly well. As you know, in the past, champagne and my shows don't always mix as well as that. And in fact, we had a major incident. I'm just looking at my, I've got my cues in front of me here, so to make sure that we get the right clips for you to see. I'm going to turn it slightly. I don't want you to see too much. We had a major incident when we had the 10,000 subscribers show, which was another milestone, of course, just a year ago. And on that occasion, didn't go quite as well, to be honest. And we had an incident which I often now refer to, quoting the words of the radio operator from the end of 633 Squadron, when he's listening out for the call sign to tell them that the mission's been a success. And he says, "Vesuvius, sir. Vesuvius." And that's what we got. Check it out. As the subscribers, we do things slightly differently, but first things first, we've got the Tertinger champagne, and we're going to crack into this, and because I need some lubrication and I deserve a treat. So, as one of you famously tell me, you always spin the bottle and not the cork. So here we go. Ready? Gotta be very, very careful. Champagne! Oh, it's gone wrong! Well, there you go. That's just completely in keeping with my channel over the years. I don't know why it's suddenly gone so frothy. Oops, that's champagne. I should be licking it up off the desk. There's no reason that we didn't shake that one up particularly. That's quite strange. I think it's because it's quite warm in here. I think we've got some atmospheric issues. Well, there you go. Off to a great start. True to form. Promise you that was not scripted at all. None of the mishaps on my channel have been scripted. It was all going so well with the fireworks, but the champagne decided to have a flood. That's my wife's glass that's just gone into the tissue paper, I'm afraid. One less for her. That'll go down well, won't it, when she sees this on the playback? Well, not sure that went down very well with the wife having to lose a glass of champagne. I don't know what I did wrong, apart from listening to the advice, as I mentioned earlier. Somebody said, spin the bottle, spin the bottle. Well, that worked out well, that made it worse, so don't spin the bottle. I think that worked best. And it's almost like I used the force, it just levitated out this time. That was the weirdest opening ever. And it didn't come out with that much force it would have hit the ceiling, I don't think. It just popped out, just on cue. As though I'd willed it, like Yoda. Anyway. This is a party. Let's get cracking. You'll see I've got balloons and everything. Oh, it's fantastic. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to run you through. I will. I mean, I could flick through all, scroll through all the 1,000 videos, but you wouldn't get the benefit from that. What I would urge you to do, though, those of you that enjoy the channel, when you've seen this, maybe in a day or two, you probably have enough of me by the end of the evening, but in a day or two, do scroll through right back to 2015, and you will see you're about to see some stuff you've missed and you haven't seen before. And one or two of the ones today might give you a flavour for it. So the channel started in 2015, and it didn't start with scale models. It started with radio control models, and I have shown you several videos. I don't think I've shown you the one I'm about to show you now, though. It's actually 3 videos, where one is from my perspective on the ground, with a camera on my helmet, and the other ones are on board the aircraft. But the first video is called Edge of Disaster, for good reason. Well, I know I sent this to Steve Keffer, so he's actually seen this. And it's basically one of my little Funjet Ultra electric jets flying around. But it's maiden flight. And I had a maiden flight with the sort of Jensen button out and center ones, and they went absolutely flawlessly. This one doesn't go flawlessly and has got a major trim problem. What it is, the rates must be overloaded, making it want to flick left, violently flick left. So when I turn left, it's like it's on double rates. So something was wrong in the setup, my fault, I presume. But when I turn right, it's normal. But as soon as I turn left, it wants to flick right over and go straight in, And it's nightmarish, and it's literally the scariest flight I've ever had as a remote pilot, obviously. But the scariest flight, where it doesn't actually crash, and it did actually land completely safe at the end. It doesn't show you the whole video, but you get, I think it's about 3 minutes of this, but it's the scariest 3.5 minutes you're probably ever going to see, because this thing is actively wanting to hit the ground as fast as possible. So anyway, it gives you a flavour for what I used to do, and also the perspectives and the performance of these machines. which is why the channel was originally set up, because I thought it would, once I got these onboard cameras, I thought it would be interesting for people to see. Anyway, here we go. So this is Edge of Disaster. See what you make of this. I'll tell you something, you definitely don't want to be drinking any champagne or anything like that before you get behind the controls of this baby. Just have a look at this for a nightmare flight. Here we go. Holy smoke! Now there's a low pass. Huh. there you go. I hope you didn't all have a big lunch before you watched that, a big meal, because it's enough to make you throw up. That was absolutely manic. Anyway, then the channel, of course, around 2015, 2016, it started to evolve into... I actually got bought the Mosquito kit in 2015, and the channel started evolving into... I hadn't really appreciated that scale modelling was as popular as it was. I used to watch Phil Flory and one or two other people, but it seemed to sort of pick up in that last midway through that decade, I think. The enthusiasm for it on YouTube. And I got on board and thought, well, I've got something to contribute, you know, and I can have a go. Some of my early presentation skills are a bit wooden, I have to say, but it's like anything, you practice and you get better at it, you know. Anyway, we're going to focus on some of the popular stuff, some of the funny stuff, some of the horrible mistakes I've made, some of the very entertaining things I've done, and the less entertaining. So this one is one that I think everybody identifies with, and it's talking about stashes. I think it's self-explanatory, but of course the title was, and there's been a sequel, and there's going to be a third film. It's called How Stupid Is Your Stash? Who am I to talk? Anyway, here you go. Check this out. Today, a difficult subject for all of us that we need to confront. The elephant in the room, something I've ignored for far too long. Talking about stashes. Stash, by definition, it means a hoard. My precious models, my precious matchbox. You may have others that are precious. Your Edwards may be precious. Your Airfixers, your Tamiyars, Great War Hobby, ICM, Model Collect, you know, Border, and the list just goes on and on and on. The chances are you've got one or many of those names in your stash, but we're going to talk today about stashes generally, and how big is your stash? How stupid is it? Because mine's pretty stupid, but there are many worse than me. So, how do you manage it? How do you maintain your models? How do you keep them nice? People often say to me that, you know, I mean, these are items all in my stash. I do manage to keep them pretty much mint, you know. So the more collectible items like the matchboxes, they're all boxed in bigger boxes. There you go, we've all been there, haven't we? And I think the time has come for a new one of those. So this summer we'll be having How Stupid Is Your Stash 3? Have You No Shame? It's coming soon. Anyway, some of the other very popular things that we've done on the channel, which I think most of you enjoyed. Everybody says they enjoy the rants. Okay, now I do those on my other channel, Peter Goes Rogue, as well, but I don't go on there and think I need to have a rant every month or every 6 months. It doesn't work like that. My rants are completely genuine. If something starts to really get my goat, I'm going to have a rant about it. But I'm not going to have a rant for clicks and views, because I think you'd tell that it wasn't done with the same passion. It would be obvious, I'm pretty sure. But the first thing I did was I decided to do a series about the model manufacturers, and this is really where the channel picked up real pace, and it gathered sort of momentum and gravity, if you will, and attracted a lot more viewers and subscribers. So we started this in the summer of 2023, and I started with let's talk about Airfix, and I made one or two comments that were a little bit critical in some areas, but I was also very flattering about some of the products and some of the design elements of the Airfix kits. And one or two people were a little bit taken aback by some of the criticism I made. It wasn't rude, and it wasn't offensive. It wasn't aimed at any individuals or anything like that. It was just some grumbles and gripes, which were very well founded, in fact, and a lot of you strongly agreed. One or two didn't, and some of the people that didn't were the loudest voices. But as I said at the time, I think that you've only seen one of these shows. There's going to be more, and the second show was about Revell. Oh dear. Now I just want to say up front, so I don't upset anybody, this was 3 years ago, and Revell have started to improve, thank goodness. They have started to make some big improvements, actually. They've now got the Airfix designer, Luke Slaney-Hewitt, he's now product manager there, and they've really started to get their act together and produce some really nice stuff. So they are starting to go in the right direction, but they were in a real pit at the time that I made this video. So please don't be too don't be too harsh on me. Remember, it was done 3 years ago, but there was some fairly brutal stuff that needed saying, and I'm sure a lot of you will agree with it. And I picked on this one rather than Airfix or Tamiya or any of the Chinese ones, because this is the most popular model-related video that I've made. Would you believe? The most popular. Crazy. And I didn't expect that. Honestly, it was done as a back counterbalance to Airfix. I thought, well, Airfix have done some things I don't like and I don't agree with and don't impress me. But compared to Revell, they're brilliant, quite frankly, you know. And then, you know, things change over time. Of course, now Airfix have seemed to have slipped back a bit. But anyway, in some respect. We're not getting to that today. But, yeah, so I think that just bear in mind that this is fairly frank, it's fact-based, and it's a rant. It turns into a rant. Okay, so here you go. So this is, let's talk about Revell. See what you make of this. So I'm going to move the German flag because Germany, you might want to disassociate yourself from this, distance yourself from this brand when I get into more detail. Oh dear. Like I said in my previous vid, I made 1 or 2 critical comments about Airfix. They will seem as nothing, little blips, minor observations, minor critiques compared to some of the things we've got to talk about today. This is going to be a tough one. Months ago, they came up with this. Now this kit, this is the F18F Super Hornet. Now this followed on from the E version, which wasn't a nice kit either. A lot of issues, fit issues, very poor moulding in terms of the finishing of the moulds. A lot of people complained about it, and then they brought out this 2-seater version. And it had been 2 years in development between the two kits. I think it was a 2-year gap. And everybody was hotly expecting this to be like a refined version of that E, and a more, perhaps a little bit more professionally turned out, and perhaps there was a big price tag. This actually had a retail price of approximately, I think it was £99.99, £100. That's a lot for a Revell kit. That's a lot for a Revell kit. So of course an expectation was created. Unfortunately, when it arrived just over a year ago, people were absolutely shocked because it was absolutely dire in terms of, one, you know you're in trouble when the instructions open up with something like this. Have a look at this. This is stuff you couldn't make up. I mean, this is a lesson how manufacturers, how not to do it. And what you've got, I'll try and zoom in so you can read this. It is telling you to remove flash from here, 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 here. Remove flash from here. Remove flash. Remove flash from here, here, here. Remove flash, remove flash. And there is even in the instructions of this kit, it even comes with a note on the instructions saying, I can't remember the exact words, but it basically says, if you find large gaps between joins, use our plasto filler to fill these and then sand them down. Now, this is before you've even got to the plastic, and you start to open this kit, and I know lots of people that have tried to build it. It is buildable, and this is what I'm getting to the crux of why I get annoyed with some of the other modelling community on these things now. Now this is £100, so this is almost Tamiya pricing. I know it's a 32nd scale. This is only £10 retail short of a Tamiya kit like the one I've just shown you briefly before. They are like they were designed by 2 different species, okay? And I saw one reviewer who should know better, who was making the most outrageous list of excuses about, well, this is where we are in 2022 and we can't expect things to be perfect and we've just got to learn to have the skills and blah blah. No, not at £100. Don't be absurd. £100, this is not legitimate and it's not forgivable at all. This kit came with the most hideous fit. I've seen 3 at least builds where people have been battling with it, fighting it. That doesn't mean it can't be done, but how many people paying £100 should have to go through that? You know, A, life is too short, and B, this is too expensive. If it was £35, £40, you might say, well, you just got to live with it because it's cheap as chips, and therefore those arguments carry a lot more weight if it was cheap and cheerful under £50, but not at £100. I mean, it's retailing today at £75. I'm thinking, you must be crackers, don't go anywhere near it. But again, the unsuspecting modeller is going to get caught. And this is Revell, you know, they're charging such a lot of money that the cynical amongst us look at it and think, well, this is expensive. It's a huge box, it's a massive box, this big. And you're thinking, well, obviously this is going to be good this time. No, it is not going to be good. It's got the most horrible flash examples you've ever seen. How you can have any credibility as a manufacturer going into production with that sort of instruction book already saying there's going to be hit. This is the sort of thing you got in the 60s, for God's sake. This is the third decade of the 21st century. How on earth can any company expect to get away with that without damaging their reputation? You know, I said, I grumbled about a couple of things on Airfix. Their kits are superb compared to this. This is garbage. There is no other word for it. Rant alerts. Well, it's no wonder, is it? It's no wonder. If I paid £100, I'd be absolutely furious. I'd be writing to them and demanding a refund. Yeah, because that's just not of merchantable quality. You know, people saying, well, you know, there are limits to what manufacturers can do. Well, if you can't, if that's the best they can do at £100, they better shut the factory then. This is outrageous. I'm sorry. It's hard. I'm not even laughing because I can't find it humorous. You know, you can't take it seriously, any of it. You literally couldn't make it up that any manufacturer would produce a product like that at that price that is so poorly conceived. One chap was showing on YouTube, he was doing a build, and he said, and even the tanks, everything was warped. The pins didn't align properly, and it's a bloody disaster, quite frankly. It's appalling quality, appalling. And frankly, you know, they've damaged themselves with that product. It's done Revell's reputation no favours whatsoever. I'm not interested in excuses from people who are master builders and are prepared to put in God knows how many hours, because Revell can't be bothered to do it themselves. Revell can't be bothered to make a clean mould. Revell can't be bothered to do proper quality control checks and basically just send it straight back to the designers and say, you know, listen, Airfix, there's no way. I know there's no way you would have released a product on the market like that. Never. Not even in their worst years. I don't think was it as bad or any worse than this anyway. Not when you consider the price, you know. I mean, we moaned about the 24 scale, the R24 scale kits, but hey, I think even they were good compared to this. It's like something from the 60s, the worst parts of the 60s. I was stunned when I saw the pictures and the condition of the mould of the actual sprues and the instructions, which are, you know, there was one other one they did. I don't know if it was the same kit where they actually apologised. I think it was a different kit where they actually had a note in it apologising for I think that was the E. A note saying we apologise for the substandard quality of the kit. Don't go to market with something like that. You are committing commercial suicide. Oh boy, I didn't really mince my words there, did I, to be honest? But it needed saying. Anyway, that's what people kind of come here for. And I think that quite a lot of you have enjoyed the frankness that I've had there. And, you know, and in that video, if you go back and watch the whole video, I was actually very flattering about some of their recent products. So it's all relative, you know, it's all relative. Things are not black and white in life, but sometimes you just got to say it like it is, and that's where it is. Now, moving on. Some of the other things I've done on the channel, there's so many things we've done. We've done stargazing, I've done International Space Station going over, that was just a little dot. We have done lots of aircraft going over here. We have just actually this back. I'm filming at the bank holiday weekend. We had the Yak 11, which many of you have seen before, go over, and it went. I didn't have my camera down, but it went over on Saturday. And I've done historical talks on the channel. We've had wildlife. We've had sparrowhawk. We had a sparrowhawk sitting on our fence for 20 minutes, and it let me walk right up to it within a metre. Within a metre. And I've got some fantastic footage of the sparrowhawk. So if you go on the channel, look for sparrowhawk, you'll see that. Didn't show that today though, but one of the things I did enjoy was some of the historical stuff I've done. And one of the things I enjoyed was a documentary sort of talk about Steve McQueen, the Hollywood movie star, who sadly died too young at the age of 50. And although to me he looked a lot older, people seemed to look older then, didn't they? But yeah, he was a remarkable guy and just the king of cool, you know, and I talked about that. But anyway, have a look at for those of you that haven't seen it, have a little look here at a little slice from my Steve McQueen biopic, if you like. I'm going to be doing one of these about Ron Dennis soon as well, so this is kind of in the same style. So see what you think of this. Steve McQueen, Porsche, and the Le Mans movie. Here you go. Anyway, back to Steve McQueen and his movie. So McQueen really wanted to make a film that wasn't just this Hollywood movie like the James Garner Grand Prix type of thing. He wanted it really just to be about motor racing. He didn't want it to be about romance. He didn't want it to be about dramatic characters and conflicts between team managers or politics, any of that. He just wanted it to be about 24 hours at Le Mans. And because of that, he really did perhaps get a little bit too close to the drivers, and he put perhaps too much emphasis on the actual racing, and they shot 250,000 feet of film, just racing, not acting, just the racing on track. 250,000 feet of film from this car that ran in the actual race. Then they had to shoot, I think it was another 750,000 of actual footage of all the other stuff. The bit at the start, you see the intro where McQueen's driving through the French countryside in his 911 Porsche and all this kind of thing. But because they didn't have a script, they kept reshooting it, and they couldn't decide how to put it together and what the story was. What was there a story? And this is the problem. He didn't want that. He just wanted to show the 24 hours at Le Mans and the trials and tribulations and the risks and the dangers and what a motor race can be like at that level. And he did that, of course. He was extremely successful in the end. Very different to other films, as we've discussed, in style. And because of that, the film wasn't really terribly successful in the box office. People thought it was a bit boring and it didn't have much of a story, and women thought it was terrible, not interesting. But if you're really passionate about motor racing, actually, he kind of succeeded, didn't he? Because it didn't go so well, and things got so bad that they were expecting to film the movie between middle of June, the actual race, and the end of August. No, it went on and on, and by the end of July they actually suspended filming, and John Sturges just became more and more frustrated because McQueen was saying no. He was kind of quasi-directing and taking over the directing. Sturges didn't like this, and he just decided he'd had enough, and he actually quit. He quit late July, I think it was. All this is in the documentary, by the way, and we'll see the photos of you can see some of the body language. It's not going that well. But they were in real trouble because then they didn't have a movie, they didn't have a director, they didn't have a script. Things fallen to pieces, really. So there was a bit of a breakdown in the relationship between Steve McQueen and Bob Reliar. He was the Solar director of Solar, and they were both directors, of course, together, and they fell out. And then a guy called Bob Rose, and he actually rang the studio, and they just basically said, "That's it, we're taking over." And they sent in another guy to direct the film, a guy called Lee H. Katzin. A guy with a hat, used to walk around with a big pipe, and they kind of railroaded over Steve McQueen, and basically he got relegated to the role of actor only, and it's very unfortunate, and I think that he felt that he'd been betrayed, and there's a lot of bad feeling about this, and he wouldn't talk to Relia. They didn't get on very well at all, but after about a month, actually, he sort of changed, and I think he so wanted to get the film done, didn't want it to be scrapped, that he actually ended up cooperating with Lee Katzin quite well, and they got the thing finished. But it didn't finish until middle of November. It was so serious, they were still doing reshoots at the beginning of November. The trees were supposed to be June, the trees with green leaves, and the leaves are falling, and they were brown leaves, so they had to paint them, they had to spray paint the leaves so that it still looked like it was June. If you look very carefully at this film, you can see in the trees in the background, I think they look a bit brown. Anyway, digressing. Yeah, there you go. That was remarkable. That film was a train crash. It was not the way to make a movie, but the end product I thought was brilliant. But there we go. Now we're getting into the perhaps something that a lot of you won't know. I think the regular viewers and some of the subscribers and members will know. Those of you that dip in and out to my channel will not know that I have had one video on YouTube that dates back to 2017, which has got 1.1 million views. Now, I still don't understand why I never got a certificate from YouTube about this, because I thought when you got 1 million views you got a certificate, so I'm a little bit disappointed with them. Or is it 1 million subscribers? I don't know, but I think that was worthy of a little certificate, Because considering what little else they give you. But anyway, it is one of the aviation videos I did, which is very model related, and because I was at the time about to build the Revell F-15E Strike Eagle, and it's the 8 F-15E Strike Eagles taking off at Lakenheath. And I was so lucky on this day because I was in the right place at the right time, the wind was in the right direction, the light was right, and I got a really fantastic video, and that is the reason it got 1.1 million views. I doubt I'll ever reach that height again with any other videos. Pretty unlikely. And it's just, you know, people watch it and it's almost mesmerising to watch, because these 8 F-15s, first of all, they're not crossing in front of each other, so your view is completely unobstructed, and you see, especially the jet nozzles on the F-100 engines that they have, the General Electric engines, are just incredible. Absolutely. Is it General Electric? Is it Pratt & Whitney? I forget. But the engines, you know, with the afterburner, it's just incredible. And the sound is amazing as well. And that was helped by the wind direction blowing straight towards me. And I've got to be honest with you, it was a terrifying experience. But it's been incredibly successful. So check it out. It's about 3.5 minutes, so bear with me. But please, I think it's 3.5 minutes. Well worth your time, because it's, you know, just imagine being there, because the ground was vibrating and the air was vibrating. It was terrifying. It was unbelievable, really. A very memorable experience. So this is the 8 F-15E Strike Eagles at RAF Lakenheath, taking off one April morning in 2017. Check it out. Have they gone? Oh yes, they've gone. My God. Your ears off. It was incredible. I don't know what the decibels was, but I'm pretty sure it's about 140. God. So loud, unbelievable. Anyway, this 1 million views within 2 years, was it 2020? Around about 2020, just before COVID, I think, we had this celebration for the 1 million views. And that is something that everybody should, if they get 1 million views on YouTube, you know, without having a picture or a video of a funny cat or something that you've kind of planned, it's quite a nice thing to have. So we had another party, and I was also talking about, just to go back to what I said earlier about the Revell kits, sounded like I was absolutely slating them, but of course they produced this in 2018, I think it was, 18-19, they produced this wonderful 72nd scale F-15E, and it's a lovely kit, a really nice one, honestly. Best one on the market, I think, at 72nd scale, to be honest. Certainly up there with the Great Wall Hobby Job, anyway. And I had that out, and actually I ended up auctioning that with the proceeds going to Ukraine, so I think it must have been 21. And Gary from Manchester bought it, didn't he? Well, it's a wonder he ended up getting that, because it was almost wiped out in another one of those unfortunate incidents all too common on this channel, involving alcohol, indeed involving Tattinger's champagne again. So this was in the midsummer, I think it's summer 21. And I was really sweltering with the heat and everything. And I just got a little bit careless and had my champagne glass. Now, some of you have noticed that I've got these, they're like a half flute that my wife insists I have now. Because when we had this was a full flute, as you'll see in the video. Yeah, well that's why I now have like a baby glass, okay. Anyway, this is one that people often remember. Because again, it's not staged, it's completely genuine. And I was so crushed because this champagne glass was shattered into millions of pieces. And I was sort of saying, oh dear, I think it's broken. It was actually atomised all over the place. There was champagne everywhere, on my foot, on my shoes. And I'd just moved the F-15E Strike Eagle that I had in front of me over there. And it was just, it saved it from being absolutely wiped out. And the champagne came within about 1.5 inches of it, splattered. I was so lucky. There was a couple of splashes on the box. More on that in a minute. Just check it out, okay? Here we go. The most sensible option. I'm very interested to hear what you've got to say. So that's that. Let's have a look at this material that we haven't seen before. I'm going to zoom you in. More champagne, please. This is supposed to be a party. Come on. I know it's very hot. And it is plumbing hot, I tell you. And this is, I'm speaking to you probably 48 hours before you're going to... I've just dropped the champagne and it's gone everywhere and it's made a bit of a mess. I shall have to have more champagne. Definitely need more champagne now. Fell off the edge and I think I broke the glass as well. Oh dear. Not my finest now, was it? And the box got splattered with champagne, just a few specks. But luckily the Revell boxes are kind of they have like a varnish on them and actually just wipe straight off without leaving any trace at all. So I was able to send that on to Gary without any damage done. Never work with children, animals or alcohol. Yeah. Anyway, as we're having this celebration, I thought I'm sure a lot of you are looking at the ones behind me. I'm going to move my card now because it's kind of in the way. It's bound to fall off if I'm not careful. What we have got, obviously, is the Sea Harrier. More on that later. We've got some of the good ones and some of the bad ones. Now, I was going to have my 32nd scale Spitfire or Mustang, but I just didn't have the room to have them all out. So I got some particularly awful kits here. Not the one in the corner. The Tamiya motorbike, as I think a lot of you know, was probably my favourite build. Certainly my best build in terms of skill. And I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I hit a high on that. I'm not sure I can repeat, quite frankly. Especially creating that damn chain, where I had to hand polish every single link and make sure it ran absolutely perfectly. And it does. It actually runs. I'm not going to demonstrate it today because it's too awkward. But you've seen it. You will see it later. You will see it later in one of the videos I'm going to show you. But a wonderful kit, and these motorbikes from Tamiya, they're all wonderful. They really are fantastic. It's not my subject at all, and I actually built that for somebody else who then said no, you can keep it. I think you put so much effort into it because it took me 6-7 months, I think 7 months. And he said, no, you just keep it. He said, I think that it would be wrong for me to have that. You know, you put heart and soul into it, and I did. I went on to a completely new level. It was like Ayrton Senna at Monaco. It was like an out-of-body experience, and I'd probably never be able to do it again. But anyway, others I was less successful with. So we've got, look at this, we've got the bloody Buccaneer. Now this is not the recent one from Airfix. This is the old one from 1994, I think it is. Oh, the banana one, where it's the top and bottom, and they were literally like bent like bananas, warped beyond belief. It's turned out okay. Let me zoom in. It's actually turned out all right, really. It's turned into a decent kit, you know. It's I was based at, I lived at RAF, just near RAF Honington. I went to the Honington Primary School, so these were part of my life. These aircraft. Every day they were flying over me, and I really loved it. Actually, I've got to be honest. You will notice my great faux pas, though. It was a bloody awful kit, but I didn't do a great job either. If you look in the intakes, you can see there's some blue tack down there to hold the nose down. I forgot the nose weight. I had such a battle trying to get it together, I just slipped my mind. So not my finest hour either. But it's actually turned into, it's decent. It's been in the cabinet now for, I don't know, 15 years. I don't think that's too shoddy in the end, but buy the new one, it's much nicer. And then we've got this blooming awful Edward Mirage. Now, some of you know I'm not the Edward's biggest fan. Some of their kits are okay, some are not good. And this is one of their older tier ones. I mean, I don't know how hard it can be with a Delta Wing kit like this. It should fit together fairly straightforward in my opinion, but it had so many problems. So much trouble with the fit and the actual nothing seems to have any engineering, mismatching parts around the intakes, around this area here underneath. And again, I think it's come out looking quite a nice Mirage when you see it on the shelf, It's got its Egyptian, Israelis have shot down some Egyptians, I think, on the ground, to be honest. And it's got, I also handmade, scratch built, these tanks, which are, of course, rocket pods at the front and fuel tanks. So they're not drop tanks, because they don't discard them, obviously, but they were typically used in the Six-Day War in 1967. And it's a fuel tank at the back, and the front half is a rocket pod, complete with, it's got vents for the hot rocket gases when they fire off. So it's basically, think of it as a little matropod at the front, bolted onto a fuel tank in effect. It's quite nice, isn't it? Came out well, but trust me, I had real nightmares with it, and I would not commend it to you at all. And then there's the Sea Harrier from Kinetic. More on that later. Anyway, let's get back to the show. So I was talking about, we talked about the F-15E. Some of the other shows that I think people have enjoyed have been these ones where we've done things a little bit differently. So, for example, the next one I'm going to talk to you about is about you guys. I've got a t-shirt here, and you know what's coming next. I am a total POS modeler. Yes, are you a POS modeler? Oh dear. Check this out. Embarrassing. Do you like to cut corners? We're going to talk about that a little bit today. Here's a clip that you might remember. POS. Painting on the sprue. Shh. Here it comes. Check it out. Hello folks. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You're always most welcome. Well, today, the big question that you need to ask yourselves, if you consider yourself to be a serious modeler of any kind, and the question is, do you paint on the sprue? Well, do you? This is an interesting subject, I think. Something I have to be honest, several years ago I was on the Flory forum, and Phil Flory got a load of criticism because he showed, as I'm going to do, he showed some examples of painting on the sprue. And I think some of the people, I don't know the individuals, doesn't matter, but I think people on Brit Modeler as well as other places, and I'm not knocking Brit Modeler here at all, It's a brilliant resource. But one or two individuals got a little bit over their skis and started getting really excited about it and saying things like, you can't be considered to be a real modeller. No modeller that can be taken seriously would paint on the sprue. So the question is, do you? Now I've got here's a classic example of something I'm working on at the moment. It's my ZZ sprue. This is on my Mosquito build. So here's the dilemma that we face, many of us, especially those of you that are doing bigger projects like I am at the moment. My 32nd Mosquito is quite a big project. So here's a sprue. Now, is it so difficult? I'm going to do something I never do normally live on there. I'm going to cut part off the sprue. So let's get a nice decent cutter for this. So here we go. By the way, I prefer, despite the trends and advice people give, I prefer to cut my part as close as possible to its base and do it in a very subtle, careful way like that, rather than chop it, several millimetres away and then have to re-chop it with the craft knife. Now, the point of the painting on the sprue debate is this. You've now got, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up, I've got to be honest. You've now got this is the parachute, by the way, for the co-pilot, which I don't think I'm going to use, actually. I don't think I need to use it. It's intended for when he's not sitting on it. Sorry, when he is sitting on it. Anyway, just going to clean that up a little bit. Just a tiny bit of clean up there. A bit of a seam line as well, just get rid of that. So there we go, it's cleaned up. So now, okay, there's another repeat on that side, but we won't worry about that because it's not seen. Now it's ready for painting. So here's the thing, I'll zoom back. Here's the dilemma then. So now we get to the situation where we have to decide the logistics of the build of your kit. Now I have got to be honest with you. I often make this comment about you painting on the sprue. You should be bloody ashamed of yourself. Have you got no dignity? Is your skill so low that you have to sort of do it like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old would do and just plaster paint on just to make it a quicker build? Really? Is that the best you can do? Really, Mr. Bond, have you no respect for the plastic? Painting on the sprue. Some people in the modelling community will have you flogged for that, or worse, the modelling inquisition. May God forgive your soul. Anyway, moving on. Talked about the F-15s earlier because I've done a bit of aviation photography, and I've also had a day in 2020 down in the summer at Coningsby, and I had the pleasure of seeing the Battle of Britain Memorial Flights Lancaster doing a rehearsal for its air show display routine. So not Spits or Hurricanes this time, although the Spits were up. I did see the Spit. But the Lancaster did do quite a nice show, so have a look at this. This is a clip from what I saw. See whether you enjoy this or not. I think we know the answer. So this is the Lancaster in Coningsby. Check it out. an amazing sound that Lancaster makes for Merlins. You just can't beat it, can you? It's just, you hear it and you know what it is. You know it's either a Lancaster or a Shackleton, basically. Okay, now, there have been one or two incidents on the show which have been very unfortunate and embarrassing. Most of those, if they're not live shows, of course, or they aren't, shows that can be edited, most mistakes get edited out. Or they get reshot. But here's an example of an outtake. This is a genuine one. It's not been put on to entertain you now. It's one that I found. I forgot I hadn't deleted from last summer, which I think is self-explanatory and is a little bit embarrassing. But I think it made me laugh, as you can tell on the day. Just something completely unexpected, and yeah, I'll let you make your own mind up on this one. Oh dear. Check it out. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today, this is so cool. So ICM brought out, you remember, beginning of the year, they came out, end of last year, beginning of this year, they came out with Monty's Caravan, just around Christmas, New Year time, I think it was. Now, it was absolutely fantastic, not least because it had such fantastic interior details. I've just got rid of my interior details with a great big burp. Cut! Oopsie poopsie. I think that should have been put in the bin and put in the recycle bin, that one. Sorry about that. That's one that slipped through the net, but I thought I'd show it rather than just delete it, because it was, it didn't make me chuckle. Completely out of the blue, just anti-game. Anyway, we move on to more serious matters. So, I was getting a lot of hassle about a year ago, so the start of last year, 2025. I kept getting this repeated accusation that I never build any kits. I don't believe you do actually build kits. We've never seen you build a kit. Blah, blah, blah. And these are not the people that regularly watch the channel, obviously. And I got fed up with this, and I thought, right, I'm going to do a greatest hits album. And it's irritating when I've done. I'm not a prolific builder, obviously, and I'm not a fast builder, so it can give that impression, of course, because I do a lot of reviews. But some of these comments were getting a little bit vile, a little bit abusive for me, so I thought, right, I'm going to kill this stone cold, and if anybody carries on making it, they'll just be cancelled for life. So I made a greatest hits album showing some of my better models. Certainly not an exhaustive list, but it was about, I think it was about 16, 17, thereabouts, of my finer works, such as they are. And included in that is the Spitfire, which I would have had out here. I actually got it out and then put it back in, because I realised I wouldn't have enough room and it was too dangerous to have too many, But some wonderful stuff there, some really cracking kits, most of which I've enjoyed. The Porsche Le Mans car, Steve McQueen Le Mans car, I struggle with a bit. What was the other one? The Edward Zero, I struggle with that a bit as well at times. So not all pleasurable, but most of them really good. And there's a couple of the racing cars and Mustang, Spitfire, etc. Some really nice kits. Anyway, check it out. This isn't it's not the full video. It's just the sort of middle bit of the video. I think there's about 4 minutes. But I think it'll jog a few memories for the things that are not here, and they're all in the cabinet, obviously. And it's just nice to see other people's work, isn't it? I'm enjoying other people's work now with the memberships. I get emails daily now from people showing me their work, and of course I'm including them every month. So anyway, chance to see some of mine in case you haven't caught up with them. So see what you think of these. Here we go. Now we come to one of the most notorious incidents of all time on my channel. As I call it, Snappity Snapgate. I am known for my Matchbox collections, of course, and if you look on the channel, if you scroll through, and I might do that at the end for you, scroll through the actual channel itself, you'll see an amazing number of Matchbox reviews, hundreds of them, literally. And what I didn't have was the Honey Stewart tank, and John Bevan, one of our loyal viewers, he actually said, I'll lend it to you, Pete, no problem. Ooh. Oh, what a mistake I'd make, eh? And he sent it through, and this is one of the Matchbox kits that, in its day, had these metallised silver tracks. And I had no idea what was going to come, but the kit turned up in great condition, you know, everything's great. And then I got the tracks out, I showed the instructions, I went through that, got the tracks out, and they were just, they'd gone solid. They're normally like this rubber band style, and they're very, very rubbery, you know. These had just gone age hardened. They looked fine, but they were just, no, they weren't right, they were just solid. I didn't catch on, and I got them out. Anyway, I think the video speaks for itself, so this is probably one of my most embarrassing moments ever, especially with somebody else's property. Oh, God. See what you make of this. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it before. Those that haven't, enjoy. See me squirm, see me suffer. There you go, check this out. Very nice, like it, like it. So first of all, we've got a couple of these. Look at the size of these, they are so small. These are your tracks. They're tiny. Oh, they're also very brittle. Why are they solid? They're not actually malleable, these. Oh dear, I'm sorry, John. I didn't intend to just break that, but you'll see when you examine this kit that they're solid. So there's no way you could use them. This is not rubberized at all. It's like plastic. And it comes off a sprue that... Whoa, that's also just broken my hand. Oh my God. I'm going to get so sued for this. That's solid. And it's very, very brittle. Can you see that? This is most unusual. This is not... I'm going to handle this now very gently. I'm so sorry, John. Genuine accident. But this is rigid. I don't know how you're supposed to form that into tracks. You're not gonna. You're gonna have to get some alternative ones. How very strange. Has age hardened it? I don't know why that would be. I've never seen this before in any other Matchbox armoured vehicle kit. They're always very soft, like a plastic rubber band, elasticated. This isn't. This is a... Maybe it's because it's this metallised finish. Oh my God, that's come off in my hand as well. Ah, I don't know if I should stop the video. The end has just come off as well. Not that you could use it. That's just a rigid piece of plastic, as is that. You're never going to make them into a track. Oh dear, I think I've got some apologising to do. I don't know what to say. This is the risk of live unboxing somebody else's property, isn't it? Right, we're not going to touch them anymore. I can't believe that just happened. They're just solid, and they're so brittle. So brittle, you can't even... I'm not even going to do it. Even the most minor flex and it just snaps. Absolutely unbelievable. Oh dear, I'm in a lot of trouble, I can see. It might be a case of you broke it, you bought it. I'm sorry, mate. I can't explain that though. You'll see when I send it back. You'll see what I mean. You don't even try and flex it. It just snap. It's so brittle. It's like a piece of glass. Anyway, we'll move on. God. Oh, we've had another one of those champagne smashing on the floor moments, haven't we? Classic TV. Not exactly my finest hour. I was absolutely mortified. I'm sure you could tell. It just kept on breaking. It was like, just put it down. My brain saying, put it down. You think, no, it's failure. And my heart saying, don't give up. And my brain saying, for God's sake, put it down. Not funny for me, I can tell you. He was fine about it, and he's built this model. He made a beautiful example of it. If you're watching, John, I haven't seen you for a while, but if you're watching, you did send me some photographs, and I can't find them. Send the photographs again of that Honey Stewart, and I'll feature it on the channel. Oh boy, the best laid plans of mice and men, eh? I don't know. Anyway, hope you're enjoying the show and having a few good laughs at my expense. There's a few more to come, I think. Cheers to you. I've got to look at my lady has just while you're watching that video, she just reloaded me with champagne. Isn't that fantastic? Wow. I don't know what it is about Tattanger. It's not too dry and it's not too sweet. It's just perfect for me anyway. It just does everything champagne should do. Anyway, on the theme of some of these ideas that I've extolled on the channel, talking about humorous ways of looking at things, and one of them, of course, was Aftermarket. And in fact, I do believe it's another one. Sorry, I've just before I get into that, I forgot to say that. Don't forget, we have the t-shirts. Thirsty Modeler, more champagne, please. More champagne, please. Press the button and get yourself a t-shirt. All the t-shirts are $23.99, but if you remember, you get them for $20.99 plus whatever shipping is required. They are delicate. I would have worn it today. I'm going to wear it in one of my shows for sure, one of these. But I would have worn it today. But hey, look at that. Spitfires. Spitfire. Spitfire. Oh, come on. Anyway, on the same vein, before I get really into this, the next video is very much on this theme. Can you guess what it's going to be? Are you a modelling CAD? A cheater and deceiver? Oh, some of you are. Even I've been known to do it. Ooh. And I did a very amusing video, well, I thought it was amusing, with Terry Thomas as the front man for my show, talking about, you absolute scoundrels, how could you, can't you do it yourself? Anyway, I'll check out the video and do it again. I'm always doing the video for you. Check out the video because I get right into this. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but I'm trying to make you think, I'm thinking of one very famous modeller in the UK. He seems to have no shame. He's a terrible cad. Yeah, and I'm a member of his team as well. Anyway, be careful what I say. Though he's not very careful what he says about me. Damn him. He's an absolute bounder. Anyway, check out the video for a few laughs. Here you go. Well, hello. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Now then, today, very much in the style of the late great Terry Thomas, an absolute rotten scoundrel. We're going to decide whether you are a CAD, also a CAD modeller. CAD, what am I talking about? C-A-D, yes, CAD. A cheater and deceiver. Are you the sort of modeller who does things for themselves? Or do you get others to do it for you? No, I don't mean like Brett Green, who gets Chris Warchop to do his painting for him. Oh, I think I might get sued for that. Sorry. I was just thinking aloud. Anyway, let us have a talk about this today. I shall drop the Terry Thomas accent for a moment or two anyway, and we'll have a serious talk about it. You absolute bounder. So, what we're really going to talk about is, do you use Aftermarket as a substitute for doing the work yourself? And I'm thinking of things like control instruments in aircraft cockpits, all that kind of thing. Let's have a look at some photographs. And before some of you start shouting, what's it to you? Mind your own business, I'll do it how I want. I'm no paragon of virtue in this area. As usual, I have plenty of sin to admit. I'm quite a bit of a stinker in this area too. Let me show you more. I'll zoom you in and you can have a look at some of my not so finest work. Now here's the question, should we really be using things that take away from the model? Are we really proper modelers if we are using parts we've bought where the work is already done? Is that modelling? Cheating and deceiving? Why don't you just get somebody to do it for you, like you know who does? That was just a joke, by the way. I got in trouble with that. One famous modeller, someone who I admire and respect very much, told me off about that comment. Said I could be in a lot of trouble for saying that. It's not true. Actually, it was true. Anyway, we move on. Now then, one of the great things that I enjoy every Christmas, New Year, of course, is kits of the year. It's a difficult one, kits of the year, because it's so subjective. And I try to be fair, and I try to be balanced in how I position them. But as I said it before, my kits of the year, it's never going to be the same as anybody else's, and it depends on two things. The things that you value and what matters to you, and also the kits you've actually seen. So they're never the same anyway. And there's never an absolute finite, definite list that is the list. You can only have it where, as I try and do, I try and reason out and explain why I've made the choices I've made, and that's the best anybody can do. But I must admit, it's quite hard work, but I do enjoy doing it, and it's become, if anything, it's become more challenging, because the first couple of years it wasn't that difficult to choose the order, not the final order anyway, the top three. The last 2 years has been really difficult. So I'm just going to show you the highlights of kits of the year, and it'll show you which year it is at the bottom here. And so we've actually been doing it for 4 years. I thought it was 5 years, but it's actually 4 years we did it, 2022 onwards. 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 was the most difficult to actually choose the winner, because it was so close between the top two for different reasons. And yeah, it was really, but I'm totally satisfied that I got it right in my own head. It took me a week, 10 days to make my mind up. But once I had done, I've never looked back and thought, I'm not sure I got it right. No, I think I got it spot on. And it's something I talked about, because in 25, of course, ICM just lost out by a cigarette paper, quite literally, in my mind. Absolutely so close to winning 2 years in a row. But they have now done the very same thing that the winner Tamiyar did. They've just done it with that helicopter, of course. You probably just saw it last night. And they've scaled it down, and that is the thing that always admires me the most. I admire the most. It's very easy to scale up. It's really difficult to scale down and make it look convincing, and they've done that with the helicopter. So it's almost like, this was already in schedule, nothing to do with me, but it's almost like they heard what I was saying. And I think that helicopter they've just produced, that CH-54, is going to be in the running for kits of the year this year for the same reasons, because they've gone down a scale, 2 scales actually, in their case, produced something incredible, which is what Tamiyar did to win, of course. But anyway, check out kits of the year for the last 4 years, just the highlights. I'm just going to show you the winner for the last 4 years and a few words of why. See what you think, and jog a few memories. Brings back some reminders of why the hobby is in such a good place at the moment. So see what you think. It is phenomenal. Probably the best value kit of the year, in my opinion. And I commend it to you without reservation. I'm going to put them out so you can see them here. I want them all to be here so we see all the winners from me. And that really just leaves us with the winner. Now the winner I mentioned, didn't expect this, didn't see it come in, it just appeared out of nowhere, like some sort of stealth aircraft that just suddenly appeared. You weren't expecting it, it wasn't on the radar, and there's a reason for that. It is a stealth aircraft. It's the F-35A Lightning. You've just seen my review, I think, the last 24 hours. Now, I got given this as a gift for Christmas. This has got nothing to do with my opinion of it or my review of it whatsoever. If you watch my review, just the first minute or two tells you everything you need to know about this kit. This has set new standards in terms of engineering, in terms of the way that the actual kit is conceived, the way it's engineered, the way it goes together, the forethought and the attention to detail that Tamiyar put into it. They do many of the things that Zokimura do in terms of the historic elements, the background, the history, but they engineer it in a way that it's almost, we joked about it saying it, no cement is included. Do you actually need cement? This has taken the whole hobby another step forward in my opinion. Just going to get rid of that line. Because, frankly, it's an engineering masterpiece. It's on another level. I have to say that when this was almost too late, wasn't it? Unlike Airfix, which was too late. But they made it in the end. They made it all the way from Japan. And it was a joy to go through the parts and to see the way they got the accuracy so bob on, and so crisp. The plastic feels so nice in your hands. It's almost like model porn when you're handling it. So I'm afraid, please do not think that this has lost. It's kind of, in my mind, it's almost the equal winner. I was going to announce equal winners, but I thought you can't do that. You've got to make a decision. And because some of it is not brand new this year, the other kit gets the nod. And the other kit, the ultimate winner, kit of the year 2023, is of course the new Zukimura FW190. A kit that was just like all my birthdays and Christmases felt like they'd come at once, So here we have the new champion, and I think it's very, very well deserved. So well executed. I think it's a worthy winner. Kit of the year 2024 is the ICM Marauder, and you can have it in multiple versions. You can have flat bait, you can have D-Day, you can have the standard version, which was in the that came out basically in April. It's a fantastic kit, and this is retailing at around about £65, 60. I've seen it at 57 to about 67 quid, shall we say, in the UK. Now, I personally, my actual vote is for this one, which is the D-Day version, the special edition, the B26B Marauder. And this one comes, of course, with all the ground crew. And this is, you saw me do flat bait just a few days ago. But this is the D-Day option, which comes with all the crew, which is my personal choice. I think you get a little bit more value with this one. And this is around about the £75 mark in the UK. And you get you get 2 of the ground crew, and you get three crew pilots. And you get some very nice markings. In fact, you get, how many markings is it? Has it got 3 or 4? I think there's 3. 3 different marking options, and I just think the timing is perfect as well. ICM have not won it before with me, so people say, oh, your favouritism, blah 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 blah. Well, I didn't give it to ICM last year or the year before, and last year I was getting kits from them as well. I think ICM, and this is sort of a second award, I think that they clean up this year because they are clearly again the supplier manufacturer of the year. You've only got to look at the sheer variety and the interesting high quality kits that they've brought out this year. It's all sorts. You've got field kitchen cooks, you've got radio operators, we've had the airfield set, we've had the Vietnam sets. Every month there's something quite staggeringly interesting, and it just keeps on coming. And it's not, 1 or 2 new releases. All right, in terms of actual new tools, it's about 7 or 8. Maybe 10, I lose track. But there's been plenty, and the cleverness of them is this thing that they do this combination sets, giving you a lot more extra value. We know that they're in a terrible situation, and that really came home to me when I spoke to Valeria at the Telford show, which was quite moving really, because on the Sunday I wanted to talk about their situation rather than the company and the kits. And you get a background for that, and you get a feel for it, and you're thinking, you've heard the story about me telling you about how they create these clear parts are fantastic in this kit. It's an absolute beauty. Cheers to you. Charge your glasses, get ready to drink to the winner, which is, drum roll please, kit of the year 2025 is Tamiya Grumman F14D Tomcat. Not the world's biggest model. This, though, is actually the advantage in many ways, and what swung it for this kit. Not that it's Tamiya, but that they have gone up another level in terms of The way that they've conceived the model. Let's just grab it because I have it here. The winner for 2025 is this one. What is stunning about this kit is kind of everything. It's small. I mean, I had them stacked up just before I started filming, and it goes Airfix big, Hampden medium, and then this little kit on the top. It looks like kind of the wrong way around, because in terms of wow factor, if you're easily fooled would be the wrong word, but if you're easily swayed by things like that, then you go for the Airfix good kit. You know, it's a big 24 scale, and this is a 48 scale, not small, and this is a lot smaller, but this is literally, it's small, but it's perfectly formed. The moulding in this model, the quality of it, the panel lines, the finesse. I struggle with my glasses. I struggle with my glasses. I had to put my really zoomy glasses and the optivisors on when I went through it even the second time. Looking at the finite detail of it. You know, the fact that they've got wheel chocks, they've got the ladders. This is a 72nd scale model. It's not big. It's under 40 quid. You've got the crew ladders. You've got the refueling probe, you know. You've got wheel chocks. So many little touches that they've added that you wouldn't expect at this scale ever. And I think one of the things that I literally had two versions of this slideshow of photos, and it literally ends with Tomcat second, Hampden first, Hampden second, Tomcat first, and I couldn't make my mind up. I just couldn't. And then I just went back and I looked at them again. I looked at them 3 times. And in the end, I mentioned that there was an emotional pull. I'll come to that in a second. But it wasn't about anything else. It was just the sheer finesse of this kit. They've got all that detailed trunking, which we talked about in the Jaguar it didn't have, and that's a bigger scale. Everything is right about it. Everything is right. And there are people reporting they're building it, and the reports I'm getting are that it's going together like an absolute dream, which is Tamiya's raison d'etre. You've got all the weapons, you've got fantastic decals, and these little things. I think the final icing on the cake, which may have just been enough to swing it, I know it may sound corny, but what is beautiful on both the first and second of these two kits, the winner and the second place, is the surface detail and the way they've achieved that. But these guys have gone down to an even smaller scale. This is why the IBG Spitfire has scored so highly with me, for the same reasons really. Going down to 72nd scale and taking that detail with you, it's kind of the ultimate. I mean, as I said earlier, going up a scale, anybody can do that. Any professional manufacturer who's used to making scale models, that's easy. Going down and I'm still carrying a scale-like level of detail, getting smaller and smaller and miniaturising it, that's really hard. It's really hard. And then when I saw things like the crew figures, it's 72nd scale crew like you've never seen really, and things like the helmets, you know, with the individual insignias for the different helmets from the different squadrons, and I thought they've gone to town on this kit. It's quite good fun, isn't it? I mean, it's a long show kits of the year. It didn't seem as popular last year. I don't know why. Whether it's me. I did make one small mistake, if I'm honest with you. What I will do every year in future is I will show you, and I didn't do this. I did it, but I didn't show the viewers, and that was a mistake, I think. I didn't actually show you and scroll through that year's kits, which I should have done, actually. But I don't think that was the reason. I think maybe just for whatever, people were not switched on to it as they usually are, but there we go. Always a popular show, always gets, you know, sort of 7,000 to 10,000 views or more. And for me, the important thing is that it doesn't matter whether people have given me kits that are free or they're loaned to me or I bought them. None of that makes any odds to me at all. I will view and judge those kits on their merits, and not because they were free or, you know, it's irrelevant how I got them in my hand. Some of these kits are just loaned to me and I don't see them again. Doesn't matter. Makes no difference to me, because the 4th place one was a kit that I didn't own. Yes, that was Neil lent me that one. That was the one from the IBG Spitfire set. It was incredible. again, another example of one of these manufacturers that scale things down, which always impresses me. Anyway, moving on. I talked earlier about the Steve McQueen thing, and also I like to do these talks from time to time. Some of those are tending to move in the future over to the other channel, but we've had some really good ones, I think. And the one I was the most proud of, which got the fewest views, I think, or certainly got less views than it deserved, I think, was the Battle of Britain, in which I espouse some views based on quite a lot of research, and especially talking about what would have happened if the Battle of Britain hadn't gone our way and Britain had actually lost. I don't think people have really thought through the potential consequences for that. And they're not black and white. They're quite nuanced and quite complicated, I think. And I talk about this in some detail in the video that I did. And this is one of my proudest achievements on YouTube, is this video, because I think I really did sort of think out loud in a way that I think was genuine, and some things that haven't been considered before should be. And I just thought it was a good video, you know, in terms of the content. But see what you think anyway. Here's just a little bit from the early part of the video, where I sort of set out why this thing was the most important battle in the history of the world, is the way I described it, which is a massive claim, I know. But I think it was. Anyway, see what you think. Here's a clip. Today I want to have a bit of a serious chat about the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, which we're in the middle of at the moment, and runs until, technically of course, till the end of October, because this was a conflict that was, without doubt, probably the most important single battle of World War II. Not Stalingrad, but we'll talk about that later. B, it ran for 4 months. It ran from early July until the end of October 1940. And the stakes in this battle could not have been any higher. The fate of the world was decided in the Battle of Britain. The Battle of Stalingrad that came later, yes, that was almost equally important, but had the Battle of Britain been lost, I think there'd have been only one outcome at Stalingrad, and we'll talk about that in some detail at the end. So there's a lot of people today who, perhaps through lack of education or lack of knowledge, or you know, just the fact that perhaps people are not talking about it so much as they used to, don't really understand the significance of what happened. They don't really understand the detail. They don't really understand the savagery of the struggle in the air that took place over the south of England in the summer of 1940. Quite a beautiful summer from all accounts. Now, many people don't understand that the numbers involved were much bigger than people think. There was over 10,000 men over those 4 months involved in this struggle, and it was a brutal and relentless campaign. You know, day after day, aircraft were coming over to the UK from France, where the Nazis had set up all their airfields right across the north of France, from Normandy right across to Belgium. And they would come over in flights of hundreds and hundreds of bombers, escorted by 70 to 100 fighters in many cases, and they would attack factories, they would attack the docks, they would attack shipping in the Channel. They would be bombing, they weren't bombing civilian targets so much at that time, that came later, we'll talk about that as well. And then they were attacking the RAF's airfields in August of 1940, and that's when things really started to get very dangerous for the UK and the future of Britain and the world, I think. Well, there you go, the Battle of Britain. I would urge you to watch that video if you haven't seen it. I actually published it twice, so you can, if you just put my name and then Battle of Britain, it'll come up. I also did a comic strip. I did a few strange things around that time. I did a comic strip in 2020 because it was the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Britain, and there was this the Phantom Flyer, which I was always very impressed by, the comic strip in the Warlord comic when I was a kid. And going off the subject slightly, they also did Frontline UK, which is about in 1976 that Britain gets invaded by North Korea, I think it was, but they didn't want to say North Korea, but it was. Anyway, yeah, thought-provoking stuff. I hope you'd agree. Now, going back to the model kits, we did this series in 2023, which I mentioned earlier, where we did Airfix, and then I did Revell, and then I did Edward. I was a bit harsh about their new decals because I didn't like them. I did test them extensively, I wasn't impressed. And then I did the Chinese manufacturers, and people started getting impatient with me, and I kept getting people emailing me saying, when are you going to do Tamiya? Why haven't you done Tamiya? I thought you liked Tamiya. Well, the truth is I was saving Tamiya for Christmas. So we got into it, and in November I started shooting. And then something unexpected happened. A timely but unexpected inconvenient interruption occurred. Check this out. Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today the time has come to talk about Tamiya. Now everybody keeps saying to me, when are you going to do Tamiya? When are you going to do Tamiya? Well, I think that we ought to really get down to it. So, without further ado, why don't... I'm going to have to reshoot this again, aren't I, and redo it, obviously. Hello, Mr. Tamiya. Oh, mushy. Sir, this is a great honour. I was just saying that I'm starting to shoot the Let's Talk About Tamiya video right now. What I was going... No. Don't worry, I'm not going to say anything bad. No. But hang on a second. You want me? Just a second. He wants me to say something bad about the company, but why? Yes, I understand, sir. I understand. He's worried that I'll look like a complete fanboy if I don't make some criticisms that are fair. Oh, okay. I understand, sir. I understand. Yes, I'm sure I can think of something. Okay. No, it won't be like the demolition job I did on Revell. No, it wasn't. It was a perfectly fair review that I did on them anyway. It was never going to be like that. It wasn't in the script at all to be like this, but I understand your wishes. I respect them, sir, yes. And it's a very great honour for you to ring me this way. All the way from Shizuoka City. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Very good. Well, I'll get cracking anyway, and I'll get it underway. Yes, thank you again. Arigato. Thank you. Sayonara. Bye-bye. Well, there's a turn up for the books that I didn't expect. I'll just have to revamp my script a little bit and perhaps include a few other items and comments that weren't originally scheduled, if you know what I mean. So, tune in soon, folks. Cheers for now. Yeah, well, I've since called it, I called it the Tamiya trailer, but I've since called it A Modelling Master Calls. Well, sadly, of course, we lost Mr. Tamiya, didn't we? Last summer, 2025, late June, I think it was, June, July. Very sad. Probably the most influential single person in the whole modelling industry, probably ever. Certainly up there with people like Nicholas Coe from Airfix and people like that. Francois Verlinden. But, you know, these names it's quite a small group, isn't it, really? This guy lived and breathed that company, and he loved his company. There were stories about him where in the 1976 Japanese Grand Prix, which was the critical race, of course, for the championship, and he was a big fan of the Tyrrell team and was in partnership with Ken Tyrrell to produce the six-wheeler kit, which, of course, I'm slightly digressing here, but of course we talked recently about my friend Pete Holroyd, Oz Scale Modelling, who passed away last year after an unfortunate, horrible accident. He made that kit, made a beautiful job of it, and they were actually producing this kit in Tamiya at that time. They were engineering and gearing up for it. And, excuse me, quite a funny story where Jody Scheckter was collected from the airport and he was ferried around by Mr. Tamiya. Scheckter was the Tyrrell driver, of course. And he apparently had a Porsche 911, Mr. Tamiya, that's what he was driving. And I think he bundled his wife in the back and Scheckter sat in the front. Or was it Schecter's wife in the back? I think maybe Schecter's wife in the back. and yeah, he drove him around like a taxi service because it was so you know, in league with Tyrrell to produce this new model of the six-wheeler, and of course he made a beautiful job, and he did it in both scales. He did it in 20th scale as well, a model that I've got a copy of, thanks to Andy, cyber leader Andy on the show, on the channel. He very kindly donated that to me, didn't he? But yeah, absolutely fantastic. So sad to lose somebody like that. That really, you know, he wasn't one of these typical sort of American or Japanese executives that's just, I'm just a top businessman. He lived and breathed the company, and he loved everything about it. And I said it when they won Kits of the Year, it was like a bonus for them because they won it on merit for me in 25. But he will have known about that kit. He'll have seen that in production, that Tomcat that won. That would be his last product, and it's nice that it was so good that he actually was able to win Kits of the year he passed away. So there we go, Mr. Tamiya. Anyway, speaking of tributes, a couple of years ago, 2023, we had the 80th anniversary of the Dam Busters raid, which was, yeah, I did a complete documentary about that, docudrama, biopic, whatever you want to call it, a talk. Talking about the Barnes Wallis involvement and the raid and a lot of things that you won't see in the movie. Also, one or two criticisms of the movie where they're a bit silly and got things a bit wrong, but still a good film. Most of it's right, you know. And I did a real tribute to the people who put so much into the raid and those who lost their lives, especially on the ground, unfortunately. There was a lot of, there was Polish and Ukrainian women who were killed in a camp that was flooded, part of the flooding. Terrible, really nasty, you know. And a lot of innocent civilians, and unfortunately that's the nature of war, isn't it, unfortunately. But it's quite an interesting tribute that I did, and I'll give you a little clip here, just a bit of a flavour from it starts with a slideshow and then I go into a talk afterwards. Certainly worth checking out. I call it the Dam Busters Tribute, so if you haven't seen it, you should go and have a look. But in the meantime, check this out. Yeah, it's quite a sombre tribute that I did there for the Dam Busters. I think that was appropriate. Poor old Guy Gibson was killed in a mosquito, wasn't he, as well? Shot down by his own side, they reckon. Sad. Anyway, speaking of the RAF, a final quick clip from Coningsby for you here of some of this aerial photography I've done. As I mentioned in, I think it was July 2020, went down there and I was only there for about 3.5, 4 hours, but I got my money's worth. We had everything. We had Eurofighters and Spitfires going up and all sorts. But the two-seater Eurofighter is a mighty machine. And here's a clip. Let's see what you think of this. Check it out. Impressive, aren't they? And you can stand that close, you know, it's amazing how close you can get, really, and within 25 metres, I'd say. Anyway, speaking of the RAF, slight change of tone now. One thing that I did that is one of my most popular ever videos, I think it's ranked number 3 or number 4 in my 1,000 videos in popularity, over 30,000 views, was the tribute that I did to Commander Nigel Sharky Ward, Royal Navy. A fantastic pilot and an exponent of the Sea Harrier, of course, and he was the main reason that I decided I wanted to put my life, you know, put myself through hell by building the Kinetic Sea Harrier. More on that later. But he was quite a remarkable character. I mean, a proper boy's own hero. You know, if there is such a thing, he was it. In the mould of the likes of Douglas Bader and others. A renegade maverick, but someone who's ultimately a professional and incredibly courageous and fearful of no one. Least of all his own commanders, you know, a man who just gave it to them directly, quite frankly. And when he knew people were wrong, he would tell them so, irrespective of rank or whatever. And this is why he didn't get promoted, which is very sad, because he deserved better. And then when he left the service, his life didn't go so well after leaving the service. And he was one of the primary reasons that Britain won the Falklands War. And that's not my words, that's the words of, well, let me stop myself there, and I'll give you the clip and you can hear it from me when I did the slightly emotional tribute. So emotional that I've only included the clip early on here because I got quite tearful toward the end, genuinely. And I was actually, when I first read the obituary the day before I filmed the video, I actually had tears run down my eyes. So I wasn't putting it on. It was very moving for me because not only did we lose a great man when he passed away last year, but we lost a certain spirit was lost, I think, and you know, a sort of swashbuckling British spirit, you know, one of those people that, you know, you read these stories about and define the nation in some respects. I think that was lost. But anyway, just have a listen to this. If Rear Admiral Woodward is now saying that, I think he's understanding. He was a maverick and a renegade, but in a good way. And you need people like that. And Bard was like that. So, enough of me. Let's read you what it says. On the morning of May the 21st, 1982, Lieutenant Commander Nigel Sharky Ward was flying his Sea Harrier low over San Carlos Bay as British forces were landing on the west coast of Argentine-occupied East Falkland. Under a clear blue sky, he flew in battle formation side by side, 2 miles apart with Lieutenant Steve Thomas, descending from the northeast and setting up a low-level racetrack patrol in a wide, shallow valley, helping to protect the British ships below him. At the southerly end of the track, as the two pilots completed their turns, Ward, as he recalled in an interview later, spotted two triangular shapes approaching down the far side of the valley under the hills from the west. These objects were daggers, the Israeli version of the French Mirage fighter bomber operated by the Argentine Air Force, and they were moving very fast. Ward levelled out his turn and pointed directly at them, increasing power to full throttle and alerting Thomas to the presence of the enemy jets. "My voice was so excited and garbled that Steve could not understand a word," said Ward later. He flew between the Argentine aircraft, lower than the leader and higher than the number 2, as they flashed past his cockpit. He expected the enemy jets to press onto their target. However, in the face of the Harriers, the daggers turned for home immediately, but it was too late. Thomas came up behind the Argentine jet and destroyed 2 of them with the Sidewinder missile. Ward then shot down a 3rd, which entered the flight from the north, as he found out later, and had been firing at him, little did he know. "Adrenaline running high, I glanced round to check the sky about me," said Ward. "Flashing underneath me and just to my right was the beautiful green and brown camouflage of the 3rd dagger. I broke right and down towards the aircraft's tail, found the jet exhaust with my Sidewinder lock and released the missile. It reached its target very quickly and the dagger disappeared in a great ball of flame. The engagement had lasted for roughly a minute, and although it happened incredibly fast, in my mind it was all registered as a spectacular slow motion show." Ward was commander of 801 Naval Air Squadron, which was based on HMS Invincible. The aircraft carrier was one of 2, the other was the task force flagship HMS Hermes. Sent to the South Atlantic after the junta in Buenos Aires had ordered the invasion of the Falklands, a British territory, and took control of it in the 2nd of April 1982. A pugnacious and aggressive fighter pilot, Ward was often compared to Douglas Bader, there you go, they've said it, one of the heroes of the Battle of Britain, and Albert Ball, one of the great aces of World War I. Like them, he was courageous and utterly fearless. He was also a fine squadron commander with great strategic vision. He had been involved in the development of the Sea Harrier jet, a naval version of the revolutionary jump jet, and played an important role in ensuring that it was highly capable in air-to-air combat. By the time 801 Squadron was sent to the South Atlantic, his pilots and their aircraft were more than a match for the Argentinian opposition. On the 1st of May, their very first day of action, they demonstrated their deadly prowess, shooting down 2 Mirages and a Canberra. Ward was a demanding leader who feared absolutely nobody in authority and was quite prepared to confront his own side as well. He challenged Rear Admiral Sandy Woodward, commander of the task force, over his conduct of the air war and disobeyed directives from the flagship. In short, he fought the conflict in his own way. His behaviour followed a rebellious pattern that marked his life and paid off. As a child, he was the most caned boy at Reading School, but still became the head boy. After passing through operational flying training with distinction, Ward was court-martialed in 1969 for an exhilarating flight in a Sea Vixen at extremely low level over the north coast of Devon and Cornwall. I remember reading this in the book. Members, he called them grockles, the public, grockles. Members of the public rushed to complain and one newspaper ran the story, "Terror Pilot Frightens Children." He received a formal reprimand but was soon selected as an air warfare instructor. Ward was also awarded the Air Force Cross after helping develop the Harrier into the Sea Harrier. He was posted to the Ministry of Defence in 1976 as the Naval Staff Officer responsible for developing and production of the Sea Harrier. The modification from the already well-proven ground attack Harrier was quite a design masterpiece, said Ward, who was involved in the project for 3 years. In an interview with the Aviation magazine Hush Kit, he said, "It included a raised cockpit, a superbly, albeit physically tiny, monopulse radar, the Blue Fox, a very reliable inertial standard navigation system and a very user-friendly head-up display weapons aiming system, including a hotline gun sight." The only guidance I received from my director was that if I wished to spend more than £5 million over and above the agreed project cost, then I should clear it with him. Crumbs. Okay. Well, there was no need, he says. It was the first UK fighter jet programme in history to be on cost and on time. Ward later commanded the squadron that took the Sea Harrier into the Top Gun trials with American F-5E Tigers and F-15E Eagles. The Harrier dominated the exercise and was delivered to British naval squadrons in 1979, 3 years before the Falklands conflict. Ward was awarded the Air Force Cross for his service during this period. In a publicity stunt in autumn 1979, he landed the new jump jet at the BBC's Pebble Mill Studios in the centre of Birmingham after the RAF had declined to perform the manoeuvre, saying it was too dangerous. He was soon known as Mr. Sea Harrier. Yeah, it's quite moving, isn't it? And I say, if you haven't seen that, it's my most popular non-model subject, not directly models anyway, and it's one of my top 3. I think it's top 3 videos I've ever filmed. And a lot of people, like me actually, a lot of people saw that. Obviously I knew about it when I filmed it, but a lot of people didn't know much about it in terms of it was not really splashed in the press. To me that should have been like a headline on the front of the newspapers. Sharky Ward dies. No, it was not mentioned. They were talking about Meghan and Harry and crap like that, you know, and it really frustrated me. And this is one of the reasons I was moved to do the tribute the way I did it. The Daily Telegraph and the Times, in fairness, also did a very good one in terms of obituaries. But I was very moved by it, and having been such an exponent, and I should mention here, I was going to include this, but it would have been too long, I think, to include these as well. But I did these book reviews. I did a book review of his book, Sea Harrier Over the Falklands, along with Dave Morgan's Hostile Skies. Not quite as good a book, but very interesting indeed as well. And also Harrier 809 by Roland White. 3 Falklands Sea Harrier books. Well worth your time. If you haven't seen my review of those books, please check it out. Just look up Sea Harrier book reviews and it'll pop up on YouTube, I promise you. And I quote directly from the books, having just read them. And again, I'm quite proud of those reviews because it's not something I normally do, book reviews. I did that, and I did Chastised by Max Hastings as well. Talked about that in the tribute to the Dam Busters. And I was quite proud of those because I'd researched it properly. I read the books, you know. You should definitely check it out, and then once you've watched my video for an hour, go and buy the book because you'll want to. And many of you have said the same thing to me, you know, that you were moved to buy the book, or if you got it, to read it again. Sharky Ward was a fantastic character, and I think we all owe him a debt. Whether you agree with the politics or the Falklands and all the rest of it, it's more the spirit of the man that endures, not why he did what he did or the politics and all that stuff. But he respected his enemy, and he was a damn fine man, and I think that was worth remembering, you know. And then we move on, a perfect segue into the last part of the show, really. A perfect segue. We now move on to one of my more popular, not quite as popular as Sharky Ward was, but one of the very popular videos, and very much something that people knew was coming then and now, I suspect, and thoroughly enjoyed for all the right reasons, in my opinion. And that is a bloody good rant, a steaming, furious, steam coming from my ears rant about something that needed saying legitimately, and I hope entertainingly. I think that from the feedback I've got from people, one of my most enjoyable rants ever, and that of course was about the Kinetic Sea Harrier model kit in 1/48 scale, the FRS-1. Well, I just want to set the stall out here. Other people have dismissed my rant, one or two other modelers, and Phil Flory, you're one of them. And the reason he dismissed it, he didn't build this kit first, he built the FA2 first, which is a much better kit. And if you built one of the kits, building the second one is much easier. If you go straight in, and other people like Jamie Hago and lots of you is the gentleman from oh, my brain's gone. Gentleman, there was Chris, sorry, Clive W, and there was Scott Isles. I remembered. These guys were all on the Flory forum. They were all trying to build this kit, and they've all had absolute hell with it. And Phil Flory did not build this first. If he'd have gone to the FRS first, FRS1, it's just got the most gibberish instructions, absolutely mindlessly bad instructions, part of which is missing. They've got pages that are blank. They've got facts where they're mixed up. They're confused between Sharky Ward and which aircraft he flew, and they've attributed kills to the wrong aircraft. Oh my God, there's some... I mean, that's minor stuff, but the actual construction details, the instructions, are dreadful. So I've got a chopper going over. Some really, really awful instructions and some very bad plastic. Now, some parts of the kit were wonderful. It's weird kit, really. Some parts of it were wonderful, some parts of it weren't so good. But I got really emotional about this, and I started quoting from William Shakespeare like it was just coming spewing out of me. Anyway, check it out. This, many of you are going to enjoy this. If you haven't seen it before, you must go and watch the full versions. And if you have seen it before, enjoy the highlights again. Short highlights. Here you go. Ready? There you go. Anyway, back to the model. Those instructions are stupid. A little bit improved in some areas, but then half of the artwork missing. Just stupid. Do some QC checks before you release the product. So it loses the point for that. However, putting that aside and a little bit of flash, I'm going to give it 9 out of 10 because I do like the kit. It's a great representation of beautiful artwork. The moulding is pretty much superb, apart from just the odd piece, those rockets, which, yeah, I'll just get rid of those. They're not right anyway. If you're doing the Sea Harrier based on the Hermes and the Invincible, they didn't often wear the rocket pods anyway. It would usually be these fuel tanks and sidewinders, so that's not going to be a problem anyway. So yes, as I say, 9 out of 10. I think it's a brilliant subject. I think they've executed it really well. A Harrier. A Harrier! My kingdom for a decent Harrier! Would have you believe that I have a decent Harrier right here. But that remains to be seen. What I don't want to do is start building that and find it's another winter of discontent, like this was. Anyway, put that over there. I've seen lots of kits built wrong through no fault of the modeller at all. Not anybody else's fault but Kinetic's. Look at this little classic setup here. This is fun, isn't it? So, this is the, I was going to say anemometer, it's not an anemometer, it's just a wind direction indicator that we have. You know, like on the Tomcat, they have a bit of string, don't they? Well, we have this like a weather vane, and it's right in front of the cockpit. But hang on, question mark. It's, again, you can see I've written notes, but ignore my notes for a second and just look at the main print. Again, it's suspended in space with no indication of where that goes. There is no hole for it. There is no location for it on the fuselage. Same with this one here. This one tells you that it must go here. And I've seen many people put it there, which is understandable, and it's wrong. It actually goes just off the centre line, just a fraction left of the centre line. There. Stupid. And then we've got, the worst one of all is here. I've written, again, try not to be led by my pointing it out, but there's actually an intake part in the kit. It's just not mentioned. It's a bit like the photo etch parts. There's no mention of it at all. And it's, again, it's only because I've got lots and lots of reference material, like James Moore would have in his head, that I know about this stuff. Oh, hang on a minute. I think I'm about to get a delivery. Oh, hang on a second. I deserve a drink because I've started to rant. Hold on a second. I do need a refill. Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you, Dee. Thank you. Isn't that nice? I get a new fresh one. Look at that. So I say, if you're not James Moore or me, who studied, 60 or 80 photographs, it's ridiculous. How can you build a even half realistic kit when they don't even mention parts? And it's a trap, isn't it? Because if you think about it, because there are two versions, you think, oh, well, you look at the parts and you think, Normally you think, well, why are these left over? But you don't think that because you've got so many left over. And you just think, well, some of these are obviously for the FA2 and they don't apply to this kit. No, they do apply to it. Certainly, yes, is on the real aircraft. But the panel line is shown here. It's not actually on the model. So and these are tiny. It's a bit like Phantoms, you know. That was fun, I can tell you. At least it's not got that many. It's only 100. But because Phantom's 500, isn't it? Rank stupidity. You know, I've never encountered anything quite like it. I mean, there you go. So that's the instructions. I am now hereby officially going to commit them to what they deserve. That is the biggest load of pants I have ever encountered since I've started modelling when I was about 5, maybe 7. You utter imbeciles. I don't believe it. I've just officially ripped it up, and that's what they deserve. Now, I said I'd be balanced. I mentioned about the weapons. They're a bit softly moulded on the air-to-air, the sidewinders. It probably looks alright now, because I did a fairly decent job of painting them, I think. I wish I'd actually got the res kit ones, because they're a bit sharper, so I'd recommend that. But, you know, the tanks are okay, and the pylons are really good, and they all fitted nicely as well. So it wasn't all bad. It's like the really easy stuff they've completely screwed up, and all the hard stuff they did not too bad, like the nozzles. It's baffling. It's baffling that they could come up with a product that's really that appalling. I despair. Honest to God, I despair. 1,000 videos, and this is one of the ones that everybody remembers, you know. I said to my wife, you can do these Hitler rant videos, and I've actually done one. Well, I've not published it. I'm not going to. But it was to do with this is a few years ago. Oh, at least 6-7 years ago. I went for a job interview, and I had the most weird interview of my entire career. And I was so cross about it. I did a Hitler rant video, but didn't publish it for obvious reasons. I'll probably get sued. And I said to my wife, I should do a Hitler rant video, because it's like a template. I could easily make a Hitler rant video about that Sea Harrier experience, and it would be bloody entertaining. So let me know if you think I should do this, because I will. It's something in my mind. I'm thinking one of these days I'm going to make this a Hitler rant video where the Führer tries to build a Sea Harrier from Kinetic and has a meltdown, and it will top me. Oh yeah, of course. But yeah, it's just so many levels of stupid, and it's pretty embarrassing that I start off where it's all sweetness and light, you know, as you saw. Oh, look at this, it's 9 out of 10, isn't it wonderful? Really nice kit. Ha ha! Fool! Just shows you, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are at reviewing or great eyes and communication skills. It looks great in the box until you get the glue out, and then you realise that nothing fits Kinetic. Nothing fits Kinetic. Like, not but Kinetic. You bleed. Oh, I'm still having PTSD about it. It's 3 years ago, isn't it? 3 years ago. Oh, some scars cut very, very deep. Jeez. Traumatised. I want to forget it. That's why I got my Spitfire shirt on, to forget it. Anyway, good. Another great segue. Oh boy. So finally, as I say, there's so many videos to choose from, 1,000 videos. I hope you've been entertained by. I know that probably none of you watched all of them. I wouldn't blame you at all. But I hope that they've entertained you, the ones you've seen. Sometimes people disagree with my verdicts when I'm doing reviews and things. I should just say a big thank you to ICM. So they started to supply me with kits in the middle of 2023. I wasn't too sure about it, because I thought, well, I'm not going to be compromised in my, you know, integrity and what I'm going to say. Thankfully, their products are so good that any criticisms I've made of them have been fairly mild, really. And it makes me glad that it's not other manufacturers, to be honest. I can think of 2 or 3 that would, there would be some difficult ones there. I would, you know, it just wouldn't last, because their quality of those other manufacturers is so up and down. It's just crazy. But ICM have provided some wonderful kits and in the most difficult circumstances, and I think that certainly in the last 3 years it's humbling to see that a company can produce anything that fantastic under such horrible conditions where they don't know, literally they don't know whether they're going to be there tomorrow physically. It's not easy to live under those conditions. It must be a nightmare. And I think they all deserve, you know, hats off. And I felt terrible when I didn't give them the kit of the year last year for that reason. But I did give it on merit. And it was, as I said, it was so fine. The margins were so tight on that. If that Tomcat had not been quite as good, they'd have had it. And of course, they were my manufacturer of the year anyway. It's not like they were, you know, failing or slipped back or anything like that. They were just picked by something from a manufacturer who hadn't produced very much, to be honest. And it's like they put everything, they went all in on that Tomcat, you know. But ICM are producing consistently lots. This is why they were manufacturer of the year. Lots of good stuff all the time, entertaining us. The latest thing they've got, that I'm going to show you in the next day or two, is gangsters. The gangster characters. Oh God, I mean, they're brilliant. These things they're coming up with are very clever. They're really well conceived. They're well executed. Absolutely fantastic. What a great manufacturer, you know. And as I said, we live in a golden age, really, of model kits. And I do worry with the oil price being what it is and the geopolitical situation, which I don't want to get into, obviously, but it does affect model kits. It's going to. I think prices are going to skyrocket in the next 12 months. So enjoy it while you have. And if you've got a big stash, you might want to sit back on it and you might see it. If you've got Wingnut Wings Lost Art kits, they might be going like this in value and skyrocketing. Wow. I'm alright, Jack. Anyway, and I've got my Matchbox as well. Things you can never get again, you know. So stop building them. Neil, I'm talking to you. And Jeff, another one. May God forgive your soul. I only hope you can answer to St. Peter when the day comes, because he'll want an explanation for this. Oh, calm down, calm down. You see, I'm reverting to type. So I've done all these Matchbox March videos, of course, as well as the Wingnut Wings Lost Art videos. And they have brought great entertainment, and they've entertained me hugely as well. But people say to me, what's your favourite video? And, you know, what's your favourite kit? I think to say a favourite kit is really hard. I think that the Mosquito I'm building at the moment is right up there. The worst kit, the best kit. I'd rather not say, really. I don't think I even know in my own mind. There's been some fantastic kits in the last sort of 10 years. And I've said that this Mosquito I'm building, if that had been released last year, it would win Kit of the Year, because that's how good it is, you know. It really is. So that's, although Tamiya have failed a little bit in delivering any more, you know, a decent amount of new stuff, their quality shines through. You've got ICM filling in the gap. Airfix are a bit up and down, aren't they? I've had recently discovered that my Jaguar wasn't as good as I thought it was, so that's been a bit of a blow, really. But they've got their own issues at Airfix, and Revell are coming good slowly, and they need to. So, you know, and we've got the Chinese manufacturers, some pretty good stuff coming out of there. Some interesting kits come out recently. So we do live in a great age, I think. Shouldn't be too grumpy about it. But people say, what's your favourite video? And it's very difficult to say, if I'm honest. It's very difficult to say. But let me just ask you a question. I'm just going to raise my glass to all of the many of you who view and subscribe to the channel, and now the members who support the channel, which I'm very grateful for. And it's amazing. I've had quite a few of you this week have said, oh, I missed the live show, because I did a first ever live show, which turned out to be much longer than intended. I won't go into the details now, but we ended up talking about a subject that wasn't on the agenda. Quite an important one. So it ended up being about half an hour, 45 minutes longer than planned. But it went very well, in fact, and very enjoyable, and really interesting to hear people's views live, you know. So we're going to try and do that at least once, twice a month. Probably live, certainly once a month, guaranteed. Maybe twice, depends on what's going on and stuff, you know. trouble is holidays are coming up and things like that, so people get busy. But it's been an interesting time. But what I was going to ask you was a question, an important question for all the viewers. Chin chin, here's my question. Did I ever tell you the day that I flew a Spitfire? Because to be honest with you, that probably was my favourite videos. I've actually done about 4 or 5 different versions. I've actually just done a revamped version which just cuts out a little bit. It cuts it down by about half, so it's not too short, because one or two of the version I'm going to show you now is a bit too short really, but it's ideal for this tonight. But I've done a half-hour version which cuts out all the transit and the taxi and all that rubbish and just gets to the interesting bits. So I'm going to release that in the next week or two, certainly before the end of May, so you can enjoy it without any of the sort of duller stuff, you know, where nothing much is happening. It's kind of all action. Certainly very interesting to look at visually. And I have to say that this Spitfire ride was amazing. You see over my shoulder I've got the certificate, and I had to include that, and I think it probably was the best thing I've done on the channel. Slightly off topic, not very much off topic obviously, but it was great fun, you know, it was great fun. And I think that it's one of those once in a lifetime opportunities that if you ever get the chance to do it, you should take it. I wasn't afraid, not remotely, you know. I know there were risks involved. When you went through that training video that they sent me, and they sort of, you had to go back and say, yes, I understand what it involves, and it said basically you sign your life away and say, I accept this is danger of death or serious injury, and there is, you know. You jump out of a burning Spitfire at 300 mile an hour that's spinning out of control. What did they say to me? You've seen the video, jump, jump, jump. And they've got this letterbox. It's nothing like the actual Spit door, which is tiny anyway. But the door you have as a passenger is like a letterbox. It's useless. And you've got this parachute on. It's so bulky, and I'm quite a bulky chap myself. Not huge, but you know. I can't imagine how people... You'd have to be like a jockey to jump out of that properly, cleanly. And they even have this young slim lad, he's about 25, isn't he, jumping out. And I'm thinking, doesn't even show him jump. They said to me, jump out as if you're jumping into a swimming pool, dive out. You must dive out. If you dive up, you die. You'll hit the vertical tail. If you dive sideways, you'll die because you'll hit the horizontal stabiliser. You must dive down as if you're diving into a swimming pool. And I said to him, swimming pool? I haven't dived into a swimming pool for 20 years, and the last time I did, it wasn't burning with petrol everywhere, on fire, spinning out of control at 300 miles an hour. Oh, anyway, dangerous stuff. Dangerous stuff. Not to be taken lightly, but don't let me put you off, because we all got to go one day. And I tell you what, if that had been my last day on Earth, I had a very fatalistic attitude, and I thought, it's fine, you know. This is a great way to be in the papers. Better even than YouTube, and imagine the footage. No, but seriously, it was a great fun day out, and as I said before, it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on. So check it out. Here's the short version, a hacked down version for you to enjoy. My Spitfire flight in the sunshine to the Lake District and back to Blackpool, which was absolutely brilliant. Here we go.
There you go.
Oh, it's there? Yeah. He's taking off now.
He's looking up, isn't he? Yeah, I mean it's just not realistic.
Yes, it is. That's it. When we get the... Yeah, we can go over.
Well, there we go. I know it says coming soon, blah blah, next time. But you can go and watch the. I say there's a new version coming out, which it shows the highlights, a little bit more of those highlights, you know, and it doesn't show any of the transit or the taxiing and any of that stuff. It just gets straight on with it. But it was amazing experience. I felt a lot of G-force. The most G-force that you felt on that flight was actually that first turn, because he didn't warn me. He just pulled back hard and into this banking turn, 3.5 G turn. And when he did the barrel rolls, that felt like nothing, to be honest, by comparison, because it was done quite gently and it didn't have the G from pulling back. It's just a side G, probably 2G or something, you know. But it was a fantastic experience. If you ever get the chance to do it, you should definitely take it if you're that way minded, you know. Great fun, and well, they say something to tell your grandkids. I haven't got any kids or grandkids, but there we go. But the fact that it was on YouTube, I did enjoy, although it was very hard work producing these videos, the actual basic production with all the captions at the bottom. It took a week. A whole week's work, and I mean working every day, 9 till 6, every day. That's how long it took to produce that. It requires a lot of work, you know, but I think it was worth it, and it's there forever now. You know, people can see what it's like to fly in a Spitfire, and hopefully those of you that are too nervous to fly, it might have made you realise that, oh, actually, you know, you can see the instruments and it's all fine. Absolutely brilliant fun. Anyway, there we go. So that's 1,000 videos on YouTube. I never imagined I'd do 1,000 videos. I mean, it's not that long, 11 years to notch up 1,000. And as a friend of mine said, he said, yeah, but your videos are long. 1,000 videos is like 1,000 hours almost for you. It's a lot of footage. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd like to thank everybody who watches, and I know we have these live chats, and now of course we have the members chats as well, members evenings, so we have extra, even more than before. Having the memberships has not disadvantaged anybody. It's just given extras to those that give extra, you know. So that's been a great thing on the channel as well. And I hope you found it enjoyable, and I intend to carry on in the same style. I think the membership has given it a bit of a new lease of life, really, and helps me to invest in the channel a bit more, because I was starting to struggle, and the way that YouTube have done such weird things over the last 12 months, which I won't bore you with now. Very strange goings on, and people even last week, even the members were saying, I didn't get a notification. Well, you put on members, notify everyone, or put on notifications, tick, members, notifications, yeah, and it still doesn't tell everybody, so I don't know what's going on. People that are keen to watch should be told, you know, but I don't know. So it's not all plain sailing. Of course, we've got the other two channels. We've got the old channel, which has got things like the Vulcan and playing with the cat on it, and some interesting stuff, but not a lot of it. And then we've got the new one, Peter Goes Rogue. Porsche driving for the car enthusiasts amongst you. Oh, yes, actually I've got to get it's due for a service in MOT soon, so I've got to get that sorted. Hoping we might go on a road trip at some point in it, you never know. But we do a lot of other things, like we've done the rants about the potholes and developers and all sorts of stuff. But this is the channel that's had 1,000 views. We have 1 million views on one of those actual. Sorry, it's had 1,000 views, 1,000 videos. One of them is 1.1 million views. That RAF Lake and Heath Strike Eagle's taking off. Definitely worth your time. Definitely worth your time. So I won't do it now and scroll through them all, but just go to my channel and click on videos and scroll down, and just keep scrolling, and you'll come to the Matchbox era and the bits of astronomy, bits of bird life and all sorts of things, cats running around. Yeah, some very unusual stuff is on there, and hopefully to a quality that enables you to enjoy the channel. And I just want to say, finally, just raise a glass and say thank you very much for supporting me. Sometimes it's not been easy. It's actually a lot of graft that you don't see. Most of the graft is not what you see on the screen. It's literally 4 to 5 times the work that you see. This is the easy bit, presenting to the camera, really. So just want to say thank you to all of you, and if you've got any suggestions of things you'd like to see in the future, I can't guarantee I'll do it, but please please drop me a line at my usual mrmatchboxes@gmail.com email address. Don't be shy, and if any of you have emailed me and I've not responded, I just want to say, especially the new members, please don't be put off. It doesn't mean I'm ignoring you. I've been inundated with email. I just can't cope. So if you have not had a response from me, don't be shy not to send me another one and just say, by the way, I sent you this with some pictures or whatever it is. I'm very pleased to hear from people. I'll try and catch you the second time if I miss you the first time. So thank you very much. Here's me drinking to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'm not sure how long this show will be because there's quite a bit of interspersed videos and editing, so I'm probably going to have to call it a day, call it a night. I'm sure we're up to at least 2 hours plus, 2.5 hours, which is probably enough, but nothing when you've got 1,000 videos, okay? Thank you very much. Thank you all for being such great supporters. And one final thing I wanted to say is that all these members that have joined as well as the other contributors and subscribers and viewers, it feels like I've got 50 subscribers. It's like gaining 50 friends on top of the others that haven't joined yet, and it's almost like too many friends. No, I'm joking. You can't have too many friends. But it's amazing. It's like, oh my God. And you're all over the world, and it's such a nice community when people come together on the chat. And it was nice that I was actually not in the chat last week. I couldn't make it because I had another engagement with an old friend of mine. And it was amazing that people carried on and enjoyed their evening without me, which is a good thing because, yeah, you don't need me in the chat per se. I think that we have a community that's so strong now that it's self-sustaining, really. So thank you very much to all of you. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the greatest of health, wealth and happiness. Here's to all of you that are watching this show. Thank you very much indeed. And I say, if there's shows I've missed you'd like to be included, we can always revisit them again in the future, but have a look back at the back catalogue because there's plenty to enjoy. Cheers. That's it. Thank you very much for joining me. Back to normal service. I think we're going to show you the gangsters, and then we've got some more interesting things coming up later in the month. Interesting kits. We've got a Matchbox kit to show you, and there'll be plenty more entertainment to come heading up to the next 1,000 videos. So until then, thanks very much for joining me. Take care of yourselves, and until we meet again, stay well, stay safe. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.